So 88 appearances and 48 goals in a barnstorming 2-year spell at the county ground. Tonight's headline guest is Swindon Town's post-war goal-scoring record holder and remains our record transfer fee received, with his hero status and Player of the Year award in 08-09 in SN1, attracting a whopping 1.9 million sale to West Bromwich Albion. Even if it meant the shoe wavers down the road pocketed a tidy 40% of that weren't a bad deal for Town. Departing for the Midlands in 2009, our guest would go on to enjoy a decorated professional career as he delighted fans of the Baggies, Forest, Southend, Reading, and of course the Republic of Ireland, for whom he's won 30 caps and for whom he won a Nations Cup in 2011. Well, our guest wrapped up his career with a season down under at Western Sydney Wanderers, and despite much clamour for a final go in a Town shirt, he chose to hang up his boots just ahead of the 2022-23 season. Well, esteemed listeners, I give you Simon Richard Cox. However, Simon Richard Cox has just dropped me a line to say he's having slight technical problems his end. So whilst I beaver away in the background, I'm going to just make sure that Jay, Chris and Mike are all with me. Guys, are you all there?
Yep.
I'm here.
Yeah, how are you guys? And Coxy's on. Good evening, Coxy. How are you, mate? Well, Coxy's on as a speaker, so I don't know whether or not Coxy can hear us. Coxy's at the Madstad tonight, that much I know. So I don't know whether that's contributing to any technical problems he's having, or whether we're being sabotaged by the Reading the Reading Gremlins. We're going to keep persevering with you, Coxy. Can you hear us at all, buddy? Jay, let me just tie back in with you. Hello, Coxy. How are you, pal?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, very well. You've just missed the intro of all intros. I'm gutted.
Well, you'll have to send it to me, because if it wasn't any good, then I don't want to hear it. But if it was great, I'd let me send it to me.
Coxy, it was a glowing tribute. How's things at the Madstad tonight, mate? You've got a busy night ahead of you.
Oh, yeah. Brought a little one down to watch. Got invited down for an evening in. So I decided to bring her down and have a little watch. So they're doing all right, mate. They're doing all right. I know that's probably not what Swindon fans want to hear right now, but yeah, they're doing all right.
Don't you worry, mate. Don't you worry. We'll allow it for one evening and one evening only. Simon, listen, I'll introduce you to the co-panel tonight. Jay, Simon, Jay.
Hey, mate.
You all right, Simon? How's it going, bud? Nice to meet you.
I'm good, mate. And you?
Simon, also joining me is Chris Phillips. Chris, Simon, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Evening, Coxy. How's it going?
Oh, good, mate. All good, my friend. Thank you.
And finally, Coxy, we've got Michael Coxy. Coxy, Michael.
All right,
Michael.
Coxy, nice to have you on the show, mate.
Hey, right.
So listen, Coxy, we're just going to indulge you tonight. You're going to tell us the best of everything. We have been literally sent a myriad questions for you tonight, pal. So I'm going to get the ball rolling without further ado, because we've got Charlie Austin jumping on to give you some banter in about half an hour. So we're going to have a little interlude in between times while he teases you about Australia.
Yeah, no, he's starting all right, to be fair. So he's all right.
Yeah, he's made a pretty bright start. I think he's acclimatising to life down there, Coxy. Well, listen, mate, yeah. I've got the first question for you, Coxy, and the first question is this: who was your best ever teammate at Town?
Probably Billy Paynter. I'd say Billy Paynter, just purely and simply on the basis that, like, obviously we got on really well on the pitch, but we played golf off it. We had loads of nights out. We just got on really well. So I'd probably say him. He was always at the brunt of most things as well, which is always nice. And for somebody like myself, who at the time at Swindon, big man, small man sort of partnership, he was the perfect partner for me.
All right, he's got a story or two, young Paints. I think were you part of the shenanigans in? Yes, Cheltenham.
I knew the question before you'd even started. Yeah, no, I wasn't. I'd left at that point. But I was actually there though. I was there and I viewed it from my viewing point at the time, which was which was quite funny to see a pretty naked Billy Paynter running down the last furlong of Cheltenham.
Well, all right, mate. Well, we won't. We've had that story told. We've had several variants of it, mate, and each one of them gets better and better. But Chris, move us along swiftly.
All right, Simon. And during your time with Swindon, who were the best away fans you encountered?
Do you know what? It was probably like my last game of the season, the last game I played, which was Peterborough away. You know, they'd been promoted that day, and we'd stayed up, and it was I think the game ended up 2 each, something like that. So everyone was happy in terms of the result, and everyone was pretty good in terms of like the game. So I think it was just a really good atmosphere on the day. So it made for a really good game as well. The fact that, you know, we scored a couple, they scored a couple. I know it wasn't a winner, but it was just a really good day out.
What about from an Ireland point of view, Coxy? When you were away with Ireland, was there any nations in particular that sort of blew your mind?
Listen, I was fortunate. Do you know what I mean? Like going to the Euros and things like that. So like just the Irish fans going to like Euro 2012 was unbelievable. Things like, you know, it's well documented, well spoken about. Like after the Spain game, just been slapped up 4-5, and the Ireland fans stay for half an hour, 45 minutes after the singing the fields of Africa. I mean, so it's they're just a like different breed, and they go to tournaments not expecting to do really well, but hoping to do really well, but they go for the enjoyment of the tournament. Yeah.
Well, Coxy, I've got a foot in both camps, mate. You can probably tell from the surname. Hanrahan is doesn't hail from South East London, even if I physically do. So yes, mate. No, I completely agree with you. They're a wonderful group of supporters to go away with.
Yeah.
But Mike, move us along, mate. What we got next?
So, Coxy, next question is, who's your best mate in football, or best friend?
It changes, I'll be honest. It changes from club to club, and since retiring, a lot of the ones I thought were really good mates now don't really pick up the phone. So no, but it happens, mate. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those where when you retire, you go through football. If you're lucky enough, like I did, you play sort of 16, 17 years, and you play with 25, 30 players, and over a course of 6 or 7 clubs, all of a sudden you're talking, you know, 200, 250 players. So the fact is you're not going to be friends with all of them. You're going to pick your select ones, but when you retire, people go on their different journeys, and everybody understands that. You try and keep in contact with people as best you can, but you go on your different life journey. But I've got some good friends in that who have come probably later on in my career, to be honest. And from where I live now, there's a few that are still knocking about. So I'd probably say there's like Anton Ferdinand, who I played with at Reading, and who came to Southend at the time as well. So he's still there around the area that I live in. And there's a couple from sort of Southend days that are good friends of mine that we sort of catch up quite regularly.
Jay, you got the next one, I believe.
Yeah. So just jumping back to talking about the fans, really. What's the best chant that some fans of a club or maybe a national side that the fans have come up for you? What's the best song for you that you've had?
Well, as you can imagine, with a surname like I have, there's been some funny ones.
What do you mean?
Simon. Yeah, we're all clean-minded on this show, buddy.
Of course, yeah. Well, it was funny when I was with Ireland. There was a banner that went around. It went along the lines of like "Fuck Iniesta, we've got long cocks." So we had Shane Long and myself. So you know, it was quite interesting.
That's funny.
But yeah, like I think I got some. I think it's very difficult to have a really, really good chant with a surname like I do, compared to some who have got like quite interesting surnames. So I quite enjoyed that one, the long Cox one. I thought it was quite a nice one.
And if the answer to this is no, I'm going to be disappointed. But do you have a photo of that banner printed out in your house?
Yeah, not in the house. No, I've got it. I've got it on my phone now.
Well, Coxy, you're talking to the right people. I've got a sneaky feeling at the Swindon game, maybe not this Saturday, but certainly in a week or two's time, there may well be a banner in the town that reads #TSTBL, the show that loves Cox.
Hey, listen, why not?
Fair one?
Yeah, fair, why not?
All right, so next one's from me, Coxy. What's your best ever football memory?
Best football memory. I think, do you know what? I'd probably have to say like the debut. Debut's always got to stand out, because if you don't have that, you don't start a career. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yep.
As much as you go on and do some really good things in your career, and you get a chance to play at some top levels in the Premier League and internationals, and I would like to say fortunate enough I went off to Euro 2012, but none of that would have been possible if I hadn't gone and made my debut for Reading against Luton in the League Cup.
That sounds fair enough to me. Right, what we got next? We have got Chris. You've got the next one.
All right, Coxy. Then, what is the best thing that has been said to you by a fan?
The best thing that's been said to me by a fan.
Football, Phil, surely.
Whether that could be a poolside encounter on holiday, Simon, that could be in a bar, that could be in a stadium, it doesn't matter. Is there anything that's ever like made your heart sing?
No, but it's made me laugh. So obviously went to the Euros, right? I was lucky enough to play in all 3 games of the Euros, and then went off on holiday to Thailand, right? And I sat and watched the European Championship final at a beach bar in Thailand next to 2 Irish fans who were sat there, like, obviously had a few drinks, so a bit worse for wear, but they looked at me and they went, have you been watching much of the Euros? And I went, little bit. And he went, yeah, we haven't done too well. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, not great. And he was like, yeah, but we did have Spain and Italy in our group. He said, and our players aren't great. And I was looking at him going, I played in all 3 of these games. And you're there, so that's maybe like the strangest thing that somebody's ever said to me. After playing in all 3 of the European Championship games, literally like a week before, and I was sat next to a fan, and he doesn't even recognise who I am or that I've played in those games. So that's probably like the strangest thing that's happened to
me. Mike, I believe you got the next one.
So obviously you played and lived in Australia. What was your most interesting wildlife encounter? Do you have any like close encounters with weird animals or stuff like
that? I don't know. I never listen. I'm not one of those people that gets excited about snakes and spiders and things like that. And I lived on the 26th of 27th floor, so I was trying to be as far away from animal wildlife as possible. Although I did remember getting we used to have an app that we all used to have to fill in the morning, and it would allow the staff to put any sort of information on the app possible that would help us for one reason or another. And I remember one piece of information coming through early in the morning was that black snakes were spotted around the training ground, and I was just like, fuck no. I'm happy in my 26th floor apartment, thank you very much.
Right, what we got next? Jay, you're on the next one. Quite a simple question, this.
Well, when you're talking about wildlife in Australia, you're not talking about Sydney FC, are you, or anything like that? I know there's some allegiances out there.
Yeah. No, we had some good games against them. No, one of the only people never to be beaten in a derby, so I'm quite happy to take that on board.
Nice. We might have to hire you for a short 1 month loan in a couple of years or something. Then in that case,
Yeah.
I'm just going to continue in the theme of off-field, Coxy. What's the best car you've ever had?
Do you know what? The best motor probably was a C63 AMG I used to have. It was unbelievable. But I tell you why is because when I was at West Brom in the Premier League, we used to get ridiculous deals by Mercedes. They used to just pretty much give them away to you. So I remember going down there one day to a Mercedes garage and said I want to take one off you, and they were like, right, okay. So he said the VIP deal, blah blah, all that stuff. He said you put £2,000 down, and it was £220 a month, and I was just like, oh my god, give me the fucking car now. But that was probably the nicest car I had. But the stupidest car I ever had, I bought. Do you remember the TV series Entourage?
Yep.
Remember that series? Unbelievable series. Vinny Chase knocking about LA and living the dream every young man superstar would want to do, right? So I was in there. I wasn't in the show. I would have been unbelievable in the show. But I was watching that show, and for some reason, living in Birmingham, I thought, do you know what? I can resemble Vinny Chase, so I'm going to go and buy an Aston Martin. So I went and bought an Aston Martin Vantage. Tried to cruise around Birmingham thinking that I was Vinny Chase. It was probably the worst decision I ever made in my life.
Two good cars. Good answers.
So, yeah. Coxy, did the C63 have the spoiler on the boot?
Yeah, I'd imagine so. They don't give you the rubbish version.
Oh yeah. You would have known, pal. You would have known. Listen, Coxy. Next question from me, which is again off field. We've been asked to ask you, what was your best pre-match meal?
So my pre-match meal changed from home and away. So obviously I lived in Reading when I played for Swindon. So for home games, the time to travel and obviously be at the stadium for 1:30 would be at the same time you would need to have your pre-match, right? So I used to travel, and my pre-match routine for home games used to be about 4 cans of Red Bull and some giant Cadbury's buttons. That was my home match routine, right? And then on away games, it used to be a chicken sandwich. I'd go up to the buffet, I'd get a chicken breast, I'd cut it up, I'd put it into a sandwich and have some ketchup on it. That was my routine.
I'm picturing your club nutritionists just quitting on the spot.
At the time. It was when
imagine the boys now doing that.
Yeah,
they get a rollicking.
Yeah, it was when I went to West Brom and they said, "What's your pre-match routine?" And I told them, and the guys basically looked at me and went, "Well, that's going to change."
Yeah, it's all changed a little bit now, fella. Yeah. Chris, you got the next one for Coxy.
Simon, then, what's your best memory from your arrival at Swindon?
What, the loan period or the signing?
Well, a bit of both, really. Something that stands out from that you can remember from either.
Well, I'd obviously I'd spoken about going out on loan to Reading, and I wanted to go to a football club that was renowned for good football, that would probably get the best out of me. And I understood about, obviously, Paul Sturrock and how he wanted to play, and he liked to get crosses into the box and stuff like that. So I like that about it. But I think we played Brentford in a cup game. And I'm pretty sure I scored. And I remember doing an interview after, and I was like, if I play like that and I don't get picked, I'm not going to be happy. And then I remember Paul Sturrock coming up to me the next day in training, and he was like, "Don't ever do a fucking interview like that again." And I was like, oh shit. So yeah, I think that was like a welcome to sort of like what it's going to be like at Swindon after surrounding Paul Sturrock. So that was quite an interesting one.
He was a character, Coxy, wasn't he, Luggy?
He's brilliant, mate. He was really good. Listen, he was tough. He was tough because he ran us absolutely ragged on Tuesdays. You know, it was like cones in different areas of the training ground and go run and don't stop until I basically tell you. But he was great about getting people together. He had good staff around him, so he was brilliant, mate. He was really good.
Mike, you've got the next one, pal, I believe.
Yep. So following on from Chris's question, have you got a standout memory from when you departed Swindon Town?
Not a standout moment. I just remember like leaving, obviously on good terms. And listen, I remember having a really good relationship with the chairman, Andrew Fitton. Still talk to him now. And I remember sitting down, and I always said to him, look, I'm never gonna cause an issue. We'll do the deal when it's right for you, for me. You know, it's not a case of I'm desperate to leave. I understand that you're not going to be under pressure to sell me, but ultimately you want the best for me. And that was the best thing I think that happened for me. And I was able to say sort of like I say, that last game against Peterborough was my last game. And the fact that I scored a couple of goals as well, which was nice, you know, was able to like say, I think everybody knew at the ground and I knew that was probably going to be my last game. So it was nice to go out as on a good term.
Nice, mate. Good spot.
Simon, Jay's got the next question for you, and this has been a very, very popular question, mate, and I think you'll enjoy answering it as well.
Yeah, there's been a few thrown around in the group chat, but best goal you've scored in a Swindon shirt?
No, it's obviously going to be the Walsall goal. Although, you know, I have a couple of favourites. Obviously, the Backhill one where I was, you know, so far offside they got given, which was ridiculous. And probably like my chip for my second, I think, against Scunthorpe was a nice one. So yeah, I think I've got a decent repertoire, to be fair, in a Swindon shirt. It's quite nice.
There was a few votes for Fenerbahce in Birmingham as well.
Yeah, obviously Birmingham wasn't in a Swindon shirt, though, was it?
Oh yeah, sure, of course, yeah, of course.
Absolutely, Simon. What's your recollections of that Fenerbahce goal? Is it still sort of fresh in the memory?
Yeah, you don't forget goals like that, mate. No, it was great because obviously we were on pre-season and we knew we were going to play a game against like, a really top team, and like the fact that we got a chance to play against, I know he was there, like Carlos, and then like Kesman was there, and like it was unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? Like it was actually probably one of the scariest. Like it was pre-season. It was a scary time because they basically bought loads of fans, and like if you know about the Turkish league, they're not like, they don't just sit there and watch the game peacefully. You know, they decide to bring flares and things like that to like a pre-season game. So you're sitting there, obviously playing the game, and you're going, "What on earth is going on here?" But I just remember the goal. Obviously, Jamie Vincent plays it into me. You know, God bless his soul. He's obviously not with us anymore, but you know, throws it into me, and what I was actually meaning to do was to flick it round the defender and have a little chase up with him. The fact that it went over his head and then it bounced really nicely, it was one of those where you look at and go, I can't not hit that.
Yeah, that first touch is absolutely sumptuous.
So obviously it set up really nicely, and then you know, obviously it went in. So the fact that I just if I could change one thing, I wish it was in a league game.
Yeah.
Coxy, to Jay's point about the goal for Forest against Birmingham, I'm going to guess that is one of, if not your best ever career goal. What about like including all the clubs you've represented?
Yeah, I'd say so, mate. I'd say that was like the best goal in my career. I think there's a bit of a story behind it in terms of like, okay, I went away with Ireland, came off injured, was on crutches for a couple of days, but really wanted to play in the game, and I did like fitness tests Friday morning, Friday afternoon, Saturday morning. I had like the biggest like padding and strapping on my foot that you could ever see. Like even to a point like my boot didn't really fit my foot. So when the ball came over, I was on the bench. Came on, we were 2-0 down, I think it was, and I came on and I just remember sort of running in behind and the ball stretching for it, and I was able to cushion it. And the fact that who it is that's sort of running out, England goalkeeper Jack Butler, and the thing, just being able to lift it over him as in the same sort of movement it's always going to be, I think, the highlight of my goal scoring record.
So the lesson I'm taking away from that, if you want to have a nice cushioned first touch,
strap your ankle, really.
Strap your foot up, yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Simon, there was us saying that you and Charlie had one thing in common. You both played the game. You had a touch like you were wearing your moccasins, and you basically did. You had about 50 levels of strapping on. That was first one. Yeah. It's ruined the dream.
You've got to play the game, mate. It's like thinking that everyone's really good at it. Yeah, you've got to do everything you can.
Right, who's got the next one? Next question is from Chris.
Right, Coxy, what's the best thing that football has ever done for your family?
Give us a great start in life, mate, to be honest. I was fortunate enough to go all around the world playing football. I'd earned some really good money. It gave us a fantastic start in life. So I think that's the best thing that it can ever have, being able to provide some really nice things for my family. And yeah, there's nothing I think that I'd change in that sense. Listen, I'd always want to earn a bit more money, but you can't always do that. And I've earned more than what a lot of people do in possibly their lives, let alone in a short career in football.
Hey, listen, Coxy, I think I'll speak for fans of pretty much all the clubs you represented, mate. On behalf of Swindon fans, you earned every single penny, mate. Don't you worry about that. And thank you, indeed. Who's right? Who we got next? Mike, you got the next one?
Yep. So, who was your best strike partner? Your favourite person to play up front with?
The person I learnt the most off of, probably Robbie Keane. Played 30 times for Ireland, probably played 20 of those times with him. I really do. I wish I would have had a few more years playing with him. I wish I would have been able to learn more from him. But for obviously one reason or another, that didn't happen. But I wish that was, or he was just like incredible. You guys, football people, know what he's all about. He's clever around the box. He's an animal inside the box. He's always Johnny on the spot, and he's always alive in the box. And you don't score over 100 Premier League goals if you're not a very good player. So he was probably the one person I learned a lot from. Sorry.
Super player and great longevity as well, Coxy, with Robbie Keane. Great longevity. Yeah. Jay, you've got the next one?
Yes. Let me scroll down quickly. So in terms of when you're playing on the field, what's the best shithousery you've seen? I'd also like to hear about some of the shithouse, if you were much of a shithouse getting in people's ears during the game.
I was a little bit of a wind-up merchant early on in my career. As I got older, I got a little bit more afraid of it because someone stuck it on me. What was the best shithousery? I don't know, yeah, I'll let me come back to you on it. Let me have a think. I'll come back to you.
Don't think we're going to let you get away with that one, Coxy.
Yeah, I might have to tweet it in. But I don't remember it by the end of the call.
So when Peaks was on, he was just saying he just used to ask defenders what they were having for dinner if they were staying down, spending the night. Just innocent, just get their head off the game.
Yeah.
So you never had any Harry McCurdy moments?
Oh no, that was brilliant though. I enjoyed that. Watching that from the outside was brilliant.
Coxy, I'll move us along. So, Coxy, from one Irishman to another, what is your best international memory?
Debut goal.
Go on, mate. Talk us through it.
Ireland obviously split into two, basically, Ireland, Northern Ireland. So it's probably, apart from England, probably the biggest rivalry they have. So to my debut, played in we beat them 5-0 at the Aviva, scored the fifth one. Dream debut. So yeah, I've got to say that. That's got to be. But then you do that, and then also you have to follow up with playing at a Euros as well. But I think the debut one is. I didn't expect to ever play for my country. The fact that I was able to, and then the fact that I was able to score on my debut is like dreams come true. Do you know what I mean?
So, Coxy, you've already told us a brilliant Ireland fan story, but Chris, you've got the next one.
Well, just next one was really what is actually your best Ireland fan story in terms of being away and whatnot.
I think the Euros has got to be it, because just the lead up to games, we would stay in the hotel. Let's say, for instance, the game was on a Friday, and Monday we'd be in the hotel and there'd be no one there. There might be the odd fan here and there. Tuesday there might be a couple more. Wednesday, all of a sudden, loads turn up. Then Thursday, just the whole place is just mobbed. You don't get any sleep the night before. They're all in the bar of the hotel. They're all surrounding the hotel. Try and go for a walk Friday morning for the game, and you can't see in front of your face, because ultimately there's loads of drunk people and they're all having a good time and enjoying the place. So I think just that. Do you know what I mean? Like, they go and enjoy the whole spectacle of the tournament, and it's just unbelievable to be a part of.
So, Mike, you got the next one, fella?
So, who in your opinion is the best striker to have played for Swindon since you played for Swindon?
He's not on the call yet, is he?
I was just trying to see if he was.
You don't have to say that.
I had a quick scroll as well just before, so he's not on there.
Because Doyle, I mean, Coxy, I appreciate it's a little sort of further down the line from Charlie, but did you follow Owen Doyle's sort of exploits? Because he had your record under real threat during the COVID season.
Yeah. Listen, I always goal scorers. You follow goal scorers all the time. I remember just him scoring a hat full of goals. But then, I don't know. I think the fact that, like, when I left and Charlie came in, and the fact that Charlie had Billy and they were sort of dovetailing really nicely, and they both end up with 20 plus goals in the season, and they both end up doing really well, you have to probably say the two of those, because I think that just their impact I'd say their impact in the team is probably greater than mine, because I end up doing it as a solo. They end up doing it as a package, which is always nice.
Yeah. So is there anyone on that line, along those lines, Charlie? Is there anyone that's played for Swindon since you that you wish you could have partnered with? Like, just watching them play and go, God, that would have been a dream partnership.
Because
I could see you working brilliantly with Jerry Yates.
I played in that game the other day, the other week, with Sam Parkin. He would have been quite interesting to play with.
He's still got it, hasn't he, as well, Sammy?
Yeah, although I teed one up at the back stick, and I was expecting to come and like steam training at the back post, and he just didn't have it in the end. No, he's still pretty sharp, to be fair to him.
Jay, you got the next one, mate.
Yeah. So Sir Peacock has already been mentioned, and he's set the bar very high for answers to this one. But what's the best prank you've played on a teammate, or one you've been witness to? And Mr. Austin has just joined us, by the way, I believe.
I wasn't one for pranks when I was there, but I remember just like Billy and Michael Timlin were always at the forefront of them. So just like, because we used to have like the, like the long baths and stuff, like the individual baths. So we used to have them in the showers,
Yeah.
and then I remember just going in there, and people just be looking at them, and you'd be wondering why they're looking and no one's in them. And it's because they've probably gone on and pissed in them. Do you know what I mean? And waiting for the next person to come in, and I'm just like, oh, this is atrocious. So that's probably the one thing that you remember most about, like the pranks and stuff.
Oh, absolutely great. We've heard some urine stories from roughly around your time, Coxy. There some absolute monsters in that dressing.
Yeah,
but look, we'll bring we'll slide into our interlude, and we'll try and bring Charlie online. Charlie, evening, Monday, morning for you. How are you, Chief? Charlie, can you hear us, bud?
Hello, mate. You got me?
Yeah, we've got Coxy at the Mad Stad tonight, believe it or not.
Oh, what a shithole.
Can't say that because you got released at 30 years old.
I can, mate. I can. Horrible place. Horrible place, Coxy. Horrible place. Mate.
Charlie, good morning then, pal. So
I know, mate. No, it's 6:30 in the morning here. I just played 120 minutes last night in the cup competition in Melbourne, mate. It's blowing a gale force wind, worse than back home, freezing cold.
Happy to be out there,
I was up because the missus and the kids had just landed. Yeah, of course, mate. The missus and kids had just landed, so I was all good. And then I was up till about 2, and then I wake up to speak to you, beautiful people. And that's about it.
You wonderful, wonderful, committed man. So you say that Bianca and the kids are in the country. Have you not seen them yet?
No, they landed last night, mate, about 10:30 last night. But I've not seen them yet. So because I'm obviously in Melbourne, so we fly back this morning, and then I'll see them. We've got 2 days off then.
Gotcha, mate.
Straight to the Gold Coast, mate. Surely.
Yeah.
So listen, Charlie, whilst you and Coxy are both on at the same time, so Coxy's kind of been there, done it, and you're just on the start of that journey. What's early impressions for you, Charlie? How have you found it so far? And Simon, we'll bring you in terms of like your early recollections and whether or not it took you time to sort of acclimatise when you went down there.
Mate, let me tell you one thing. Sorry, mate. Go on. Let me tell you one thing about my first game. Was Brisbane. It was against Brisbane Roar. It was at Suncorp, and it was fucking roasting, right? And then what they do over there is they interview people at half time. So what they thought it was funny that they decided to interview me at half time, looking as red as you like, blowing out of my hole. So it took me a little while to get acclimatised. Trust me.
Yeah, it's like 10 days to get over the jet lag and that. But obviously, the season don't start for another 6 weeks, so it's not too bad. But they do warn me that comes some like Christmas time over here, it's ridiculous weather.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how we go from that. Because obviously at home we don't really get it as much. So listen, it's one of them. I said to you before, Mark, that you can't compare it to the UK really because the main players moved to Scotland. But from what I've seen so far, I've made a good decision to come here. I couldn't be bothered to play 46 games, and the clubs that was in for me didn't interest me one bit, didn't excite me. So that's why I moved here.
Well, what's Charlie? You said you've obviously got your first. Well, you're not your first competitive action as such because you've had your boots on out there already. But what's what sort of was it a pre-season tournament you were in, mate? And what was the sort of standard?
No, mate.
How are you finding it?
No, they play like the Australian Cup, the equivalent of like the FA Cup. They play it before the season because they're not the second division team are already through their season.
Yep.
So it like works out to be pre-season games for us, but obviously competitive. And then they're coming to the end of their season. No, it's not too bad, mate. Listen, for me, I'm just trying to get fit at the moment, and then obviously when the season starts, be ready to go. But it's an enjoyment for me, mate. It's an enjoyment. I'm seeing it for what the whole situation is. I'm getting my minutes. I'm enjoying football. get the love for it. And like I said to you all the time, mate, it's just a whole new experience, you know.
Yeah, of course. Listen, Charlie, we've got a question here from Bianca from Hungerford. She wants to know: Did you manage to make the bed?
Oh, mate, honestly, she gave me a list of things to do. I've done half of it, mate. You should have seen me trying to make the bed, mate. You should have seen, honestly, mate. It was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But, no, mate, honestly, I've not seen him for 6 weeks. So I can't wait to see him now. No, they're in the country. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I've got you. Another question has popped up, Charlie. We've just been asked to ask you: is there anyone that you've seen, Brisbane Raw or otherwise, that is catching the eye in terms of ability? Like, are there any names that you can throw out there where you're thinking he's a baller, he's got a big future?
We got 2 players that play for us that could play in League 1, League 2.
Send their details across, mate, to the club.
They got 2 mid, 1'6", 1'10". Kai Truan, his name is. He's a very good player, and Ramit Abari plays as a 10. He's very good, man. He's very good. But what the scenario is, like I said, I think a lot of people from the UK overlook Australia. That's why a lot of them go to Scotland. Yeah. So I don't know. Listen, Clem's Australian, so that's on him.
He'll have his finger on the pulse. Well, Charlie, since we last spoke, has managed to pick up 2 points and score 2 goals, which is a big improvement.
I know, yeah. From what I gather, it was always going to be a tough game against Leyton Orient midweek. I think the only disappointing thing would be obviously going 1-0 up and not be able to hold on to win the game. Do you know what I mean? I just, as you look at it even more.
Don't worry, mate. Yeah, don't worry, mate. I'm here. We've just had to mute Coxy's mic. I think he's gone into the players' tunnel.
Fucking hell. I thought, what is that?
Sounded like a jumbo jet landing.
Oh, no, mate. I don't know what he was up to. Fucking hell. Fucking glad he's done that. No, do you know what? Like I said, later in the game, 1-1. I think the only disappointing thing is not being able to hold on to the lead, but then to be able to get a point and get something from the game, because I know, a lot of the fans know if they wasn't able to hold on and got beat 2-1, then people would have been going off. So it's a good point that they've taken. Now it's all about just building from that, because there is obviously a long way to go, but you do need a good start, because there's only like 1 or 2 teams that do come off the pace.
Yeah.
I got a question actually about what your thoughts might be on this, but we scored in the 3rd minute or something like that, and there's the classic football cliche trope of we've scored too soon. Is that something?
You can never score too soon.
Yeah.
No, but I know. I totally get what you're saying.
Well, England have done it twice, haven't they? In 2 major tournaments where they scored in the first 2 minutes and then gone on to concede. And it seems like we did the same thing.
Yeah, but, you can never sort of score too soon, but I do understand what you're saying. It kind of just, I don't know, sometimes instead of going for the jugular and going for the second, some teams end up sitting back and not and taking the backward pass instead of if it was 0-0, they would have a go at going forward. Do you know what I mean? So it does become tough.
It kind of changes game plans quickly, I guess, sometimes.
Yeah, it does. But then it can and it can't. The better teams and the manager that trusts his players, he will continue his process as obviously what he's done. And Richie's obviously done that at Leyton Orient. He's got a good group of lads in there who he trusts. And like I said, Town, we get away with a point and we go forward. But I think the only thing we come away is Harry scored. He's got his first of the season, and we listen. Let's be honest. All our eggs are in his basket, because unless we get a new striker, someone in to support him, then it all relies on him, unfortunately.
Yeah, Charlie, here's a question for you then. You'll have happy memories of scoring up at Carlisle. Obviously, we came away with all 3 points when you did that. But the general consensus was obviously the game before Leyton Orient, 1-1 draw up there. Is it a sort of, how do footballers sort of feel after that length of journey, going to Carlisle, getting a point? Is it good enough? Like, do you still feel that's a good point because of all the obstacles you've got to overcome logistically and whatnot?
I think that's just part and parcel of football. Logistics is something you can't control, mate. So you can only control the controllables, which is you going on the pitch for 90 minutes and getting 3 points. If you can't get 3 points, just come back with 1 point. And listen, no one wants to go and get beat, do they? Do you know what I mean? So listen, they couldn't get all 3. They come away from a point. It is what it is. You know, in the league, you know, in the fixtures. I think when all the playoffs and that were done, I think there was all the EFL kind of maps were about regarding the leagues. And is League Two, correct me if I'm wrong, is League Two quite northern?
Yeah, it is, mate. Yeah, you're bang on.
EFL League Two North this year, yes.
Yeah, so I mean, so the boys are gonna have to do a lot of travelling. They would have seen that beforehand after obviously not making promotion. So listen, if you're going to pick up points on the road, that's the right way of going about it. Obviously, do you know what I mean? But
Yeah,
like we said last week, and you've got to make the county ground a fortress. Somehow, the lads have got to be excited and enthusiastic last year of how well they finished and how well I even went to a couple of games. Do you know what I mean? But how well the home fans got and the people of Swindon got behind the football club in the last 4 or 5 weeks. Surely that's an inspiration. If we can do it again, where we can continue to make results, then more and more will come to the county ground and more will pack out. I played in packed county grounds maybe 4 or 5 times. It's a fantastic place to play. So if they can get back to that and we can get more in there, more in, then listen, I think it'll be something that they should definitely be looking forward to anyway.
Well, listen, just before we try and bring Coxy back on, mate, my final sort of request of a bit of input from you, Charlie. What was it like following on from Coxy? Had obviously had a phenomenal record at Swindon Town. You had enormous boots to fill. Appreciate Bill played a big part in both your careers at Swindon. But what was he like to follow on from?
Yeah, when I first went in, it was tough. But I'll brutally honest with you, it was tough looking on for me. But I didn't feel no pressure because we had 5 strikers that were rubbish in front of me. They felt the pressure to fill his boots. I just went in there with a free rein. Like we had Alex Revel, Topi Obadeo, Ben Hutchinson. They were rubbish, but they was trying to fill Coxey's boots. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just went in there with a bit of a free hit. I had everything to gain, nothing to lose. I was coming from non-league, Mark, so it wasn't like that. It was only until I got in there and started playing, people was obviously saying regarding Coxey. So for me, it wasn't too bad, but he left a massive hole. He went on to go and obviously play for West Brom. Di Matteo took him, and it was brilliant for the football club. But yeah, like I say, for me, I wasn't too bad because I had everything to gain, nothing to lose, and the four strikers that were in front of me before I started playing were shite.
Yeah. What a way to finish! You are nothing but
I've got a question for the two of them actually. So if you've got a second, I've got a question what's your Tim Tam flavour of choice if you've got one yet?
They're crap, mate. They're crap. They're overrated.
Get yourself some double coated and put them in
They're
the
not.
freezer.
Yeah, I have.
Put them in the freezer, man.
They're not crap. They're unbelievable.
They're overrated, mate. They're overrated. Just Coxy, it's a glorified penguin, mate. That's all it is.
Hey, penguins come with a joke as well.
No, mate. The chocolate hobnobs are the one. Right, listen, lovely to speak to you, chaps.
You're a legend.
Coxy, all the best, Sam.
See you, mate. Take care, mate.
See you, buddy. All the
Take
best.
care, mate.
Love to the family, Charlie. Take care, pal.
Always. See you, mate. Bye.
How about that, Coxy? So
Brilliant.
there were 5 strikers before Charlie, and they were all crap trying to fill your boots. So he never felt the pressure. What a quote! Right, getting back to business. Whereabouts were we? So, we talked about shithousery, didn't we? We talked about your best international memory and your Ireland fan story.
I think we're up to best biscuit. I think, aren't we? So leading on from Tim Tams.
We certainly did. What is the best biscuit, Simon Cox?
It's chocolate hobnob.
To be fair, that is the World Cup finalist of biscuits. That's all we need to hear. Chris, what's your question, mate? This is all about the dark arts by the look of it, Chris. Oh, Chris, all right there, mate. You having the mic problem? Right, we'll see if we can get Chris sorted. Coxy. Chris's question was, "What's the best prank ever played on you, Coxy?"
He got in the buff.
Yeah. I try to stay away from that behaviour. I'll be honest with you, because I wasn't, especially when like later on in my career, where like probably my gear got better. Some would say probably got worse, but when my gear got better, I didn't want anyone cutting it up or coming away with no trainers, with no shoes or anything, no shoelaces or anything else like that. So I tried to stay away from that behaviour.
Right, Mike, you got the next one, pal?
Right, so I'm not sure if you're the type of guy to collect souvenirs, but do you have like a favourite or your best souvenir from your football career?
I got a few jerseys, I got a few shirts, which I was obviously lucky enough to play against some unbelievable people. So got like a Iker Casillas shirt, I've got a Sergio Ramos shirt, I've got a Andrea Pirlo shirt, I've got a Carlos Tevez shirt, I've got a Yaya Toure shirt. So yeah, I got a few. Like if you've got steel toe caps on, you might want to drop. Like there's a few names being dropped here, but yeah, there's yeah, I got a few nice jerseys, mate.
That's an absolute Rolls Royce collection of shirt of names. That
wouldn't be a bad five-a-side team. I know that.
No, that is pretty tasty. Jay, you've got more of a
yeah. I'm next. So just getting into a bit of fashion, I guess. What's your best boots that you played in? Like your favourite boots from your playing career?
Do you know what? Obviously, like the thing is, when I was at Swindon, scored like all those goals. I played in a pair of Umbros that were unbelievable, and they discontinued them. I was raging. So when I went to West Brom, obviously signed myself like a nice Adidas deal and stuff like that. So I was in like the F50s and everything else. But I actually really enjoyed the Umbros, and I really wish they would have continued on with them, because I would have just probably kept them throughout my career.
You should have gone to all the sports director near you and just bought up every single one and like have a garage full.
Mate, do you know what? I'll be honest with you. I went like they stopped them. They had stopped them. So I went online, sports direct, everything. So they stopped them. So I had to go onto like mental sites from like ridiculous areas of the world and buy as many as I could. And I ended up having like 4 pairs that like tried to last me. And you know what happens is that one pair ends up getting ripped for one stupid tackle. So they're done. Yeah, it was just I probably had 4. I probably played in about 4 or 5 pairs of them, and they were unbelievable.
That was a golden era for Umbro. I still wear my Xi 5s now, Coxy. I still wear them.
Brilliant.
Don't you worry about that. Right, Coxy, someone's asking here about your best away hotel you ever stayed in. Have you got a glorious hotel story?
No, listen, we used to obviously take into account of like the international ones where you hire the whole floor out and you get to. When I was at Reading, lucky enough to get to FA Cup semi-final, so we played at Wembley against Arsenal, and we stayed at like an unbelievable hotel there, got like ridiculous rooms and stuff like that. I wouldn't say that I had a favourite hotel. I do remember like a few stories of when I was at Southend. We played Scunthorpe, and I think it was MK Dons were staying there as well, because they were playing someone pretty close to Scunthorpe, if there is anybody close to Scunthorpe.
Doncaster.
There you go. So they must have been playing them, and then and I remember like all our players were looking to watch like the Friday night game, and all their players must have been in bed. So and then when we were trying to watch the Friday night game, we were asking all the staff for biscuits, and they weren't. And then our staff were in the bar having like beers and that, and their staff were like playing puzzles or cards or something with water. So like it just showed what type of clubs we both were at the time.
I think right. we'll park the hotel stories then, Coxy. We're right down the bottom end of your questions now. Chris has got one that is going to potentially be controversial, so tread carefully with this one, Coxy.
Right, Coxy, which is the best or your most favourite stand at the county ground?
I would probably, scored quite a few goals down at the town end, so that was nice. But I always used to, it's a mad one, I always used to run out of the let me shut that fucking door, do my order.
It's because he's talking about Swindon now. Because he's talking about the county ground and he's at Reading.
No, don't worry. Reading have just pummeled Blackburn 3-0, mate. So don't worry, they'll be in a good mood.
Yeah. So I always used to run out of the tunnel and run straight over to the far side top, as you look at it, top right hand corner. Because for some reason, I always, in my head, I had that no matter how things are going, good, bad, indifferent, you go and applaud people at the start of the game. They'll remember it throughout the game, and then they'll stick with you throughout the whole 90 minutes as well as throughout the whole season. So I always had that in my mind, that doing that as a starter, then it allowed me to sort of build into the game. And whether your first touch was great or you had a bad first half, they would always stick with you because of that first little initial behaviour that you showed them straight off the bat.
What's it like scoring at a packed town end and then scoring at the Stratton Bank?
Where no one is. Yeah. But to be fair though, the one time I did not one time, the times where that end was full was like Leeds, like big games, and I always used to get abused by Leeds fans. It was brilliant. But scoring when there's no one there it's as memorable as scoring when there's loads of people there, because it's still, the ball still hits the net. It doesn't really matter.
And you've still got the Arkles and the Don Rogers to go and have a bit of fun with as well.
Yeah.
So, what's your penultimate question? Yeah, no, hang on. Almost your penultimate question's coming from Mike.
So, Coxie, obviously you've done a lot of travelling throughout your career around the world. What was the best place that you've been to in terms of a holiday destination?
Do you know one place I'd love to go? And I visited there with Ireland, is Azerbaijan.
That's
interesting.
I'd love to go there because I went there and the stadium was brand new, brand spanking new. The hotel was unbelievable. It was basically like Dubai, but a sort of cheaper version, but with the same, there was marble everywhere. It was done really, really nicely. So and we were talking to some of the staff and that while we were there, and they were basically spent loads of millions and billions of pounds on creating a new capital city. So it's going to look unbelievable. So I would actually like to go and just sort of see what it's all about, really.
Well, Dean McMackin, travel counsellors, I hope you're listening, Dino. Make sure you slide into Coxie's DMs, mate, and get him
a freebie. Surely.
No better way to say thank you for all those goals, Coxie. That's all I'd say. What's right then? We've got Jay. You've got the penultimate question for Coxie.
Yeah, I'm still in a shock that Azerbaijan was the answer to best holiday of the entire world. That's a unique answer. Yeah, that is. It's not what I was expecting. Don't hit me, but what's the best thing about retirement?
Being normal, being able to go to the pub on a Friday or a Saturday and not have to worry about whether somebody comes up and goes, "You were fucking shit today," or what on earth's going on at the football club, or anything like that. I think it's just being a sort of general punter, really. I think that's the best thing. Plus, obviously, spending time with the family and being able to sort of come and go as I please. That's always nice. But I think just being a general punter is the nicest part of it. Yeah.
Is it a different way of enjoying football? Is it an easier transition to kind of get into just being a fan of the game again, or was it something you struggled with?
No, I'd always liked watching football. I was never really good at it because I get really animated over it. Like I know, obviously, this is a Swindon podcast, but watching Reading today, like there were so many times I was looking at it going, "What on earth are you doing here?" Or like, getting really animated with what's going on and why are you making that run and why aren't you making that? Like, what kind of delivery is that? You know what I mean? Like being a general supporter, so it's nice. So I just think it was always going to take time to sort of get into that, but I was ready for it, so it was fine.
No, so you've got your giving the V's down to a T, and you've also got shouting forward down as well. That's it. Once you get those two down, you're pretty much set.
Yeah. I'm good to go, I think.
Well, look, Coxy, all this corporate box stuff, mate, that's all very well and good, but you're going to have to accept an invite to come and join us in the town end before the season's out. That is a Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge absolute must. So you're going to have to come and mix it with the common folk, mate.
As long as there's a pint in it, I'm happy.
That 100% there will be. So I hope everyone that's listening, that is a verbal contract as far as I'm concerned. But look,
I work behind the bar, Coxy, so I have a cold one wait for you, mate. Don't worry.
Just one? That's not
Look, Coxy, I've got your final question, and it's pretty straightforward. What is your best overall Swindon Town memory?
The whole of that season, mate. I'll be honest, it was just such an unbelievable season for me personally. Like, started off really, really well in pre-season. I really enjoyed the whole start of it, playing all those games, scoring all those goals, being on that general crest of a wave of a high. I loved it, mate. It gave me the platform to go and have a career that I did. So I'm forever grateful, forever thankful for everybody at the football club that made my time there, a successful one.
You're very, very welcome, mate. And as we said to you earlier, the Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge, Coxy, would love to see Cox in the town end. So let's make a point of making it happen.
Absolutely, mate. Get me down.
All right then, buddy. Coxy, listen, what an absolute pleasure it's been having you on, pal, making your show debut. I hope you're not going to be a stranger moving forward, mate. We've got some various set pieces and bits and bobs concerning sort of certain points in your career. We'd love to come back and visit with you at one stage. So hopefully you've had a bit of fun with us tonight, mate, and you'll be joining us again in the future.
Absolutely, mate. Anytime.
All right then, pal. Thanks again, Coxy. Take care, mate.
Cheers, mate. Cheers, guys. See you later.
Cheers, Coxy. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Right then, well, listen, gentlemen, straight out of Cox and straight into Tom Hartley. How are you, Tom? Good evening, buddy.
Well, an act to follow, eh?
Hey, how about that? He's a rascal, isn't he, that Simon Cox? What a rascal. It's just brilliant. I love a double entendre and I love an innuendo. And Coxie just effortlessly glided us into those areas, Tom Hartley. I'm glad we're after the watershed. It was all a little bit Monty Python, all a little bit Two Ronnies tonight, I think.
Indeed.
But Tom, listen, you've got some really, really interesting news, haven't you? A few bits and bobs have broken today over the socials, but not every Swindon Town fan's going to have heard it. Obviously, it's been a seismic few weeks for women's football in the UK. It's certainly a really interesting time of development at Swindon Women's Football Club, Swindon Town Women's Football Club. So we got you on tonight, mate, to sort of shed a light on a very, very interesting story that's broken today of another big spike in interest, activity and backing.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, thanks for having me on just to talk about it for a bit. Like you say, the women's game is on the crest of a wave at the moment, and the firework has certainly gone off. And yeah, we're really excited at Swindon Women that we'll be playing more games in Swindon in the season to come. We've had Fairford Football Club as our home ground for many seasons now, and we'll continue to play a number of our fixtures there through the year. But yeah, we're really fortunate that we will be playing a number of fixtures at Foundation Park and at the County Ground in the season to come, which is just a brilliant platform for us to build our fan base, get more people involved and engaged in the game, and yeah, have a brilliant place to play our football from.
So how has this come about, Tom? Like, what's made this happen? Now, how have we suddenly gone from Fairford just being the home to now drawing you closer to the County Ground? Like, what's the catalyst?
Yeah, look, we've got some brilliant supporters within the town, and local businesses being that as well. So nationwide are helping us bring the games to Foundation Park, and without their support, it wouldn't really be possible. So it's a huge thank you to them, and kind of people on the trust at Swindon as well for really kind of pushing this and making it happen. And I think actually we've got the support there to kind of unlock the doors, if you like, to be able to go and play at Foundation Park and at the county ground. And for this, it feels like just the start of something for us as a club to be able to really make playing in central Swindon kind of the home of Swindon women.
So what's the ambition, Tom? I mean, what would I mean? Foundation Park as a venue for football is obviously it's a bit of a no-brainer. But what are the kind of numbers potentials? Have you sort of set yourselves any targets? I appreciate it's early days. We just made this announcement, but what sort of numbers are you hoping for? Bearing in mind, we would get, say, when we were rocking and rolling towards the end of last season, we were regularly hitting 5-figure crowds. Obviously, it's not necessarily realistic that we're going to be hitting that for the women's team at this juncture. But what sort of numbers are you aiming for?
Yeah, look, like you say, it's different in the women's game, and we certainly wouldn't be expecting numbers in the thousands, not at this stage anyway. But by getting kind of hundreds of people in to be able to watch, kind of, and I'd hope that we'd get 200 or 300 coming for our first home game of the season on the 28th. That would be a brilliant start. And look, like we spoke about when I came on the show before, I'm sure lots and lots of Swindon fans have an interest, and it's not the fact that we're saying because you're a Swindon fan you should be kind of emotionally involved with Swindon Town women and there every week, but actually give it a go. Come once or twice in the season. And the fact that it is at Foundation Park and at the county ground in the year to come, we've got lots of opportunities really just to kind of create a really great atmosphere and a great feeling for everybody who does come down.
So, Tom, are you hoping to sort of get to a stage where the first team men's team and the women's team are going to be playing on alternate weeks? Or is that almost at this stage something that you just can't plan for, or there's no way of making that happen?
Yeah, it's a tricky one that with fixtures, and just making sure that the fixtures don't collide. But ultimately, we want to play as much as possible at Foundation Park and at the county ground. Now, look, I think playing at the county ground would be really, really special. I think the women's team has played there in the past once or twice before, and it's not necessarily something we'd aspire to do. Say in 2 or 3 years' time, we don't want to be playing at the county ground every single week, because we want to make a spectacle of it. They want to be kind of our signature moments within the season, if you like. So by using Foundation Park more and more, by kind of thinking about the special games to have at the county ground, I think it will create some really memorable experiences for fans. And actually, if you're a young boy or girl and you're interested in coming to football, if you've got a family and you think actually this might be a really nice way to come and introduce them to the game, then it's great. And it does feel a bit different to kind of what a men's match day at the county ground would feel like. So yeah, it's an opportunity to get really close to it, and it's just an extension, I suppose, of the support for the club.
So listen, Tom, if I'm a young female listening to this now, listening to you, and I've got ambitions to come and get involved with Swindon Town Women's Football Club, what advice would you give to that person? Whether they feel they've got the talent to immediately catch your eye, or they've just been inspired by events this summer. Like, what's the best advice you give them? Oh, I think it sounds like we've lost Tom there. So we'll try and get Tom back on. Jay, have we still got you, fat pal?
Yeah, I was actually going to hop in and just, I know, when was it that the Lionesses came and played at the county ground? That was a couple of years ago now, wasn't it? Or yeah, I'm thinking they're probably a bit big now for us. Now they're World Cup winners, or Euro winners, sorry.
Well, so I think we've got Tom back on.
I'm back. Sorry about that.
No, not at all, mate. If you need me to repeat that last question, Tom, you shout. But hopefully it all makes sense. And essentially, the question was, if I am a aspiring young female footballer, I live in the Swindon area, or I don't live in the Swindon area, but for whatever reason, Swindon Town women have attracted me. What advice would you give to that young lady about engaging with the football club? How are they best going about doing that?
Look, we've got a pathway, and we're really lucky that we've got such a brilliant community foundation as well at the club. So Swindon Town Community Foundation have recently been given a license for an emerging talent centre. So that effectively supports all the age groups coming up from under 10s up to under 18s. And then Swindon Women have kind of the under 18s and the development team and then the first team. And actually, if anybody wants to play or kind of become on our radar, if they're not, then they can always get in touch with the club through our social media. And actually, in terms of playing and advice from there, I think it's about just like playing in a way that you can be free when you're on the football pitch, not worrying about mistakes, not taking risks, and just being really purposeful with your practice. And look, we've got some great coaches at the club. We do have that route for players to kind of come through, and yeah, the future is really bright. We certainly won't necessarily see immediate success in every element of what we're doing, but we've got all the seeds and the roots there for things to grow in the next couple of years.
Tom, well, listen, I mean, a couple of weeks ago, we posed a couple of questions to you. You've and we've said like things that I think we as fans of the men's first team would like to see. There were no loaded questions for anyone that was listening at the time. We didn't know that these things were happening. It's just wonderful to see that Nationwide have stepped up and supported you in the first instance. It's fantastic to hear about the pathway story that you've got for aspiring young female talent, and we're going to continue to tell your story, Tom. We're going to continue to follow that progress as the Swindon Town women's story unfolds, grows, blossoms, and it's brilliant to have you at the heart of it. Someone that I've known for a very, very long time in various guises at the football club. Mate, we just wish you all the best. Tom, listen, we'll let you scoot off, pal. I know that it was really good of you to come on tonight, mate, and spare some time for us. I appreciate you got a bit of a packed schedule at the moment. Anything you want to say to the Swindon fans in closing?
No, thanks, buddy. And look, I think it would be great if we could get some of the players on as well in the future. You've been good enough to have me talk 3 times now, but let's get some of the girls on and get them talking about kind of their experiences in their first couple of games of the season. But no, if you're a Swindon fan listening and you've never thought of women's football before, then why not now?
1,000,000%, mate. Why not now? And take it as granted, Tom. The offer's open. We'd be loving to hear from some of the players as the season unfolds, pal. Consider it done, and we'll be in touch on that. Tom Hartley, ladies and gentlemen, what a treat. So, Gabs, lovely to see you joining the speaker list, Gabs. You'll remember the conversation that we had a couple of weeks ago with Tom. Isn't it fantastic that some of those questions have already been answered, mate, in the week or 2 since we posed them?
Yes, fantastic news. It just shows that the people within the club act quick, really.
Yeah, they've certainly. I mean, we're not gonna sort of claim any credit for it at all. As I say, I can assure any listeners listening tonight, we just posted the questions a couple of weeks ago. We said as supporters of the men's team what we felt were the barriers to following the women's team. And I think we talked about, alternate weeks being important, and accessibility generally being important. And, people seem to be sort of answering those questions. I think they're just common sense questions at the end of the day, Gabs, aren't they? It's not rocket science.
Yeah, exactly that. And plus, Foundation Park has got stands in it. What's the point in people hiring it and not filling them, really? So it'd be good to see. It's a good experiment to see how many turn up. Let's try and get those stands full.
Yeah.
And from there, it'll be a good indication is, right, okay, could they potentially fill the county ground? Like one block of the county ground and go from there. Just little aims, try and achieve and go from there, really.
Yeah, because listen, the one thing that's really impressed me about women's football over the summer, and Tom touched on it there, is the kind of vibe that was created in the stand, that sort of sense of community. Now, there's nothing that beats that match day, fire in the stands, the controlled aggression. We would never advocate for things spilling over the top from this show's perspective, but the shots backwards and forwards from the supporters, the aggression, the songs, the absolute experience that is, your typical match day that we've become used to over the many years that we've all been following the club. But there is something about I think the role of women's football this summer that's kind of opened people's eyes to a slightly different way of sort of football fandom, for want of a better word. I don't necessarily think we are starting to draw lines between there is this way and there is a better way of doing things, but as a community club operating at the heart of Swindon, I think it's fantastic that we've got our own project that's unfolding, and obviously a major sponsor in Nationwide getting behind it, giving it its financial clout and pointing it in the common sense directions we've all requested is fantastic news. So we'll park Swindon Town Women's Football Club for the time being, but rest assured, as we said to Tom, it's not going to be the last that we hear from the Women's Football Club moving forward, and we will be speaking to the players and coaches, etc., as we move forward. Now, obviously, we were here last night, so we're not going to go into too much detail, but the dust has settled on Swindon Town 1, Orient 1. We're just going to have a slight sojourn back into that. Now everything's calmed down, and whether it's the over-elation or the frustration from last night, the fan base seemed to be sort of split straight down the middle. Chris, coming back to you, pal, I hope your technical issues are sorted. What did you, how are you feeling, mate? The morning after the night before, how did it feel to you when you woke up this morning?
It wasn't too bad, really. I think it's just got to preach with patience. I had a couple of chats with people in the hotel this morning, actually, about it, which was quite good to just get a different perspective on that. It was one of I can't remember his name now, but one guy was there who was actually one of the sponsors, and he was just sort of saying the same things as we have as well. That number 9 focal point is just big for, I think, what we need, and more so than anything is at the moment we don't seem to have an identity of how we want to play.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what was really interesting was obviously you know because you were there. I'm still down in deepest, darkest East Kent, but my son was telling me that on the train back to London, travelling back with a good chunk of the Leyton Orient support, they were all absolutely over the moon with a point away to Swindon Town. So they were particularly chuffed. I think they felt that they tired towards the end of the game, that Swindon's superior fitness had started to tell. I think you could debate that point depending on what side of the fence you're on, but I thought that from what my son was telling me, some of the away observations were certainly fill us with some optimism. Jay, how did you feel about it this morning, mate? When you glass half full or glass half empty?
I'm just glad to hear Arch got home okay, because we were in Arkles after the first goal, after we scored, and after waving at them and saying hello, it was Arch had the realization, I sat with those 3 on the train up, and I got to get the train back with them. So I'm glad to hear that he made it home all right and they looked after him. if he was found himself with the same lads.
He never told me that story last night.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. And then you just asked me about the game and my thoughts this morning. There's definitely signs of improvement every game where things do seem to be getting better. In personally, they're still not quite. We set the bar so high last year, in my opinion, towards the end, that it's a little bit deflating to not carry that momentum into this season at all, of what it feels like. Excuse me, and but yeah, we're definitely improving. So that's all we can really ask for at the moment, with quite a new squad, lots of ins, a couple of outs. So every time that happens, there's always that gelling time, isn't there? And the teams we played against they're up there at the moment. I know it's early and it's only a couple of games in, but they are in the top half of the table. So maybe it's a case of we're playing the harder games straight away, and we've got a run of potentially easier ones that will help us really gel and score a couple of goals and get Wakeling get a couple of goals, and Maybe
Well,
an elusive striker joining us at some
listen,
point.
Jay, I mean, to your point, and for those of you that tuned in last night, I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself here, and I'm not talking about the league table now, as in it's hugely relevant 4 games in, but, look at the teams that we have played. We've taken a point off of Salford, who are currently sat top. We've taken a point off of Leyton Orient, who are currently sat second.
Mm-hmm.
We have, all right, it's the cup, but we got beaten by Walsall, who are currently sat in 8th. We were beaten by Harrogate, who are 9th, immediate beneath them. And then we took a point off of Carlisle United, who are sat in 11th. So everybody that we have played, they've had a pretty reasonable start to the season. And there's no shame in that. And the fact is, we are unbeaten since the opening day of the season. I'm not going to go down the Luke Williams route and say 3 equals a bit. So there you go. I've just said it. But the fact is, we're not. All right, I appreciate we did against Harrogate, but we are not shipping goals. But the problem is, we're shipping a lot of chances, Jay, aren't we? I mean, Mike, I'll bring you in at this stage, Mike, because Sol Bryn, it's lovely seeing Sol Bryn sort of enjoying a few pats on the back in the sponsors' lounge and getting a bottle of champagne. But I made this point last night. It's not necessarily fantastic when your goalkeeper's getting man of the match on a regular, is it?
No, 100%. You saw that sort of discussion online as well on the sort of Twitter sphere in the Swindon Town community, and it is a very valid point. You don't really want your man of the match to be your keeper back to back in games. Obviously, it's very, very good for Sol Bryn. It shows that he's a really good keeper at this level, and I think he's going to have a good career. But we are conceding a lot of chances at the moment. What I liked about the most recent game is that we actually seem to be creating a few more chances. The first sort of few games of the season, we really did look quite toothless. We just didn't have that sort of creation. So having that chance creation now is it's an improvement, and that's as Jay said, that's what we can really hope for at the moment. But I want to see 3 points from Rochdale. That's a must-win game now, really, in my opinion.
Well, I make you right. I mean, listen, we talked about this again last night. Rochdale played 4-1, none drew, none lost 4. They've scored 1. They've conceded 5, 0 points. They are looking like absolutely they are all over the shop. Didn't have a particularly fantastic season last year, but nonetheless came to the county ground and frustrated us on a balmy early season fixture. So by no means will it be a given, because you're going to have 2 teams that are scrapping for their life, but for 2 very different reasons. I think one of the things that I wanted to ask you guys that were there last night, and I don't know who wants to take it, so just feel free, one of you jump in. Rob Hunt, lovely seeing him back at the county ground. What sort of a reception did Hunty get last night?
I mean, we were at Arkles, so it was, and he was playing first half on the opposite side. No, he's playing on our side, and then so we didn't really hear much from the back of Arkles, but there was, it felt a bit like he was, when he came out, there was usually when someone comes back, there's like, oh, I'll clap all sides, but there was none of that. It was very much, I'm clapping my fans at the moment. But he seemed to, from what I saw, it was all kind of nice on the pitch. Like he gave McCurdy a back rub at one point when he was moaning to the 4th official, I believe, or the lino, as he walked past him. But it was just a nice return. I think. I don't think there was any angst there from any of the home fans, from what I saw.
Was there any kind of ovation as he left the pitch? Was there any recognition to his old fans? That's a real that really. But obviously, returning last night as well was Lawrence Vigouroux. What kind of reception did Viggs get? It's been different, is the best way to put it, over the last few fixtures. Did anyone pick up on whether Larry Viggs got a nice reception?
Nothing out of nothing any more than a normal keeper would get, from what I saw. Just the your shit as. And
I was going to say
that's about it, really.
I definitely feel like the town end put a bit more vigor into your shit as.
The second half from the town end, and that was going on for 5-10 minutes. Arch will be able to tell you all about that. But when he was kicking it, and there was just shouts going up from everywhere, and it was just getting ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then we got Richie Wellens obviously returning to the county ground. Now, last time he's returned, he made a point of walking down the Don Rogers. He gave it plenty of applause, and then went off the pitch, plenty of applause to the Arkles, and a cursory clap as well to the town end. What sort of reception did Richie get last night?
Again, it's just quite muted. He's come back before now, so there isn't that. It's the first time seeing you. There was one moment that got him quite a bit of respect from quite a lot of fans in Arkles, especially was they should have kicked the ball back to Britain for just to give possession back to us, and the Leyton Orient player just kicked it and it went out for a throw, not that far, not that close to the keeper, and Arkles immediately was up in arms, booing, not happy about it. And pretty much immediately, Wellens was very animated, leaning pretty much going onto the pitch, waving all of his players back, like, get back, don't go anywhere near this. And then kind of gestured back to the Arkles, like, it's fine, I've got it. Like, I'm not having that either. So there's definitely a couple of moments where the home end were quite happy to see him, I guess. It's hard to kind of sum up what the feeling was towards him, but yeah, it's just there's definitely a positive relationship there still.
Yeah, but it's good to see that it's gone from us pining over him to time's moved on to a nice healthy mutual respect. That's what we want to see.
Yeah, I think that's what it is now. It's just respect.
Now, I understand that Sir Tom Broadbent now just been working very, very hard to get a little bit of backing behind Ronan Darcy. And I understand Ronan Darcy baby got back out for the town end last night. Is that true?
Yes, it is. And I bet you know exactly who started it.
It sounds like you guys were leading my son down the garden path. Recently turned 18, and you're ruining his early adult days. It
was Arch and Joe's fault.
So it was hard to hear through my tiny little laptop speakers last night, following on iFollow. But what was the vibe? What was the vibe generally in the ground? Obviously, the reason I asked the question is that I am of the opinion that what we spend a lot of our time on social media. Obviously, our show exists on Twitter. Appreciate that we do amplify it by placing it in other places as well. But we live in the social sphere. It's been very, very prickly of late, and I've been reminded quite determinedly by various people in my direct messages and via tweets that they generally believe, and I do tend to agree, social media is a noisy minority of Swindon Town fans, and quite a caricatured bunch of them as well. So how do we feel about the general vibe in the county ground? Having said that, do you feel that the county ground vibe last night was positive, or do you feel it was as representative and as prickly as social media?
I thought certainly second half. I watched the first half in the Arkles with Jay and Darren and those, and then me, Arch and Joe went into the town end for the second half, and the atmosphere actually was a lot better in there than I thought it would be, to be honest. There was all sorts going on, and I thought I didn't really hear all that much negativity. So at the moment, it seems to be quite positive.
Well, that's good to hear. And long may it continue, because I think, as Jay's pointed out, I mean, if there's anything for the fans to take away tonight, and hopefully everyone's in agreement, I could see it from a slightly iFollow's never the full sort of in-match attendance experience. It's always nice to be able to, not miss a match when you're away from the county ground, but it is a poor substitute. But the one thing that you just don't get following it on a laptop or otherwise is that sort of accurate sort of barometer or vibe in the stadium. And Jay, and obviously there was a lot of positive. Sorry, not positivity. Apologies. A lot of development, improvement, and long may that continue. I mean, talk to me, Jay, about Rochdale on Saturday, because again, it's one of those weird. We're in this sort of situation where I've said this quite a bit. Scott Lindsay's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't at the moment, because if we go and thump Rochdale on Saturday, that result will be, I don't think, as a win, it's going to do a huge amount in terms of affecting people's sort of attitudes going into Stockport away. And we could be back at this situation again very soon, which sort of seems ludicrous. But would you agree?
It's so just kind of just about Salford. Sorry, not Salford. The Orient game. Just kind of the feeling around the pitch leading into the next one was just in the stands. I feel like if we didn't have a strong final 20 minutes like we did, I feel like it could have turned a little. So I guess the word that you can use for it was kind of apathy. This to most of the game was just like, oh, like we've had a slow start and it is what it is. I feel like that was the vibe that I find kind of found from like in the Legends Lounge a little bit. It's not as toxic as Twitter would make it look, as the socials make it seem. But then I feel like the fight from the last 15, 20 or whatever, however long it was, really kind of helped, I think, up like what they're trying to show what they're trying to do. So it's we started really strong, meh in the middle, and then had a really strong last 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes. And without that, going into Rochdale could be quite toxic. But I think going into it, it's like, yeah, let's get the win and start let's just continue this run of being undefeated run that we're on.
Yeah, I've got you. Listen, Gabs, I'm going to doorstep you about team selection, mate. I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to consider that ahead of Rochdale at home on Saturday. What, if any, changes would you be making going into that game, buddy, in order to set up to win? What sort of lineup are you going with? Oh, Gabs, yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, mate. Did you get the question?
Good. I'm probably the first person to use Twitter Space via CarPlay. I would, to be honest, Rochdale team low on confidence. No wins from 4. I would go a bit more attacking and start Darcy, I believe, in place of Williams, because I don't know why. I just feel like Williams and Gladwin, you've kind of got a bit of the same player. So I'd go Darcy over Gladwin, maybe Williams. It depends if Williams can play 2 in 1. Well, start 2 in 1 week. That's probably about it for now. The jury's still out for me with Hutton. I want to see a bit more from him.
I was about to ask you about him.
The report. So I made to Geordie, so he doesn't go to many games. That he went to Carlisle, and I'd say after about half an hour, my WhatsApp when I got off the cricket pitch was bombarded with, why is he bottling 50-50s? Doesn't he fancy it? Has he woken up yet? He's travelled to Carlisle. Why is he acting like he's got jet lag? And then thanks to Ian, I watched back a few of the highlights and I could see what he was on about, to be fair. But it's a weird one. I think, I know everyone says don't look at the table early, but I've got a feeling you go and change. The team haven't lost now in 3. We started well and on the front foot at Orient, scored early. There's no excuse really that if we went and changed, we could do it again. Score early.
Yeah. Listen, I'll make you right. I mean, I'll tell you what. Listen, Hutton was for me equally culpable with their equaliser, along with Fraser Blake Tracy last night. I think the left back's got to do better in trying to cut that cross out. Hutton's got to do better in terms of his spatial awareness. The players right behind him, he had an absolute acre to finish that off. There was no block. So I think with the change to 4 at the back, and I quite like Kieran Brennan. I think he's very, very mobile. When he gives me the impression as a centre back, he's one of those that could probably push out and play right back. So I've got a feeling that he offers you an opportunity to cover for Frenchie, who is obviously going to struggle to play 2 games in a week. But I think we'll see Frenchie returning. But I think more often than not, I think you're going to see Brennan, if we stick to that 4 at the back, I think you're going to see Brennan given an opportunity to push Hutton on the right. So potentially on Saturday. But the one thing that Hutton, got into some positions to cross. Certainly did a lot better in that respect against Salford. Just flattered to deceive, I think, last night. But I do think that Brennan will be the one that will be fancying his chances, forcing his way back into a back 4, but maybe as a fullback as opposed to his preferred centre-back position. Mike, if I bring you in at this stage, are there any notable changes you'd make to the lineup, mate, having been there last night and obviously with us in search of our first win?
Yeah, So to be honest, I missed a good portion of the first half when I was sort of cleaning up after serving, but I caught most of the second half, and yeah, I sort of agree with the fullback changes. To be honest, I'd like to see Brennan back in the team once he's healthy. Give him a little stretch of games. I do think like the players at times they just sort of switched off. Like when you look at the goal that we conceded against Orient, both of the fullbacks really, I don't think they were as switched on as they could have been. They both sort of, I think Hutton lost his man, and then he was the one who ended up scoring. And then on the other end, obviously it was the winger for Orient who crossed the ball in for the goal. So just a bit more sort of awareness, tactical awareness, spatial awareness from them, marking their man, that kind of thing. I reckon that's going to be really important. So whoever out of our sort of full back lineups roster, really, whoever's got that defensive awareness, I reckon they should be looking to start.
And how would you feel? In fact, Chris, I'll put this to you if you fancy, or both of you. How would you feel? Because for me, I think a player that could probably do with a goal or two, just to sort of boost his confidence and help him settle in, is Tommy Adeloye. I quite like the idea of playing a front three, Tommy Adeloye and Wakeling and McCurdy playing off of him. If you see my logic, it's the big man, it's the two sort of small men out either side, not a million miles away from how we finished last season with Josh Davison in the side. Is that something that you pursue, or off the back of last night, are you of the opinion that we've got to keep Adeloye benched?
Personally, I'd love to see Adeloye succeed in this side, and like putting McCurdy and Wakeling on the wings. I reckon that could be key to unlocking him. Really, I will admit he hasn't really shown really impressed so far, but I'd like to think that there's a player in there. I think he did quite well at A United. Obviously, I know it's a different league. People have different opinions about the quality of the sort of Scottish league, but I'd really like to see him succeed. He's had a few good moments, especially in the lead up to. There was a chance early on at Walsall where he sort of just muscled this player over, and then we created our best chance of the game off the back of that. So he definitely can be used correctly, and I still think even if he does start performing well there, we want to get another striker to sort of be challenging for that striker role, really.
All right then, boys. Well, listen, I think that'll do us for this evening. Thank you ever so much for your reflections, those of you who were at the game last night. And Jay, Chris, and Mike, thanks ever so much for jumping in and firing the questions at Coxy. Tremendous to hear from all of you boys tonight. Absolutely amazing to hear from Simon Cox making his show debut tonight. Always great to hear from our weekly columnist from Down Under, Charlie Austin. Delighted to see that Charlie's reunited with the family this week, 6 weeks away from competitive action down there at Brisbane Roar, and we wish him all the best. So plenty more lifestyle catch up from Charlie next week, where hopefully he's learned to put a quilt inside a quilt cover and lay it on a bed. But between now and then, from all of us at Tom Broadbent Lounge, thanks ever so much for lending us your ears tonight, guys. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you're listening live or listening on catch up, we will be back with you live from the county ground from 12 o'clock on Saturday against Rochdale, where we're broadcasting live from the Legends Lounge, both pre and post match. We're going to have a roster packed full of guests, packed full of opportunities to win some lovely stuff. So please do join us. We look forward to seeing you then. But for the time being, please remember the Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge is an unofficial Swindon Town fans Twitter space. Does not represent the views of Swindon Town Football Club or Sir Tom Broadbent himself. I bid you a farewell, good evening, cheerio.